Assalamu alaikum. In my last video, I told you about how I was bullish on Bitcoin and how I had started to build a position in it. In this video, I'm going to cover one of the ways in which you can invest in Bitcoin without directly owning Bitcoin. The primary reasons why one may not want to or not be able to own Bitcoin directly are security and accessibility. As it relates to security, I don't blame anyone for being nervous about owning Bitcoin directly. There have been some high-profile cases of Bitcoin theft. Perhaps the most well-known of all was the case of Mt. Gox, where between 2011 and 2014, over 850,000 Bitcoins had been stolen, including 750,000 Bitcoins owned by its customers. Another reason why people don't own Bitcoin directly is accessibility. The fact of the matter is most brokerage accounts don't have many options to invest in Bitcoin, aside from the option that I'm going to share with you today, which is Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, ticker symbol GBTC. Grayscale owns Bitcoins on its customers' behalf and takes on the responsibility of securing these Bitcoins. The Grayscale Bitcoin Trust has accumulated around 3% of all of the Bitcoin supply. Now, when you own shares of Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, GBTC, you can't actually redeem your shares for Bitcoin. You can basically sell your shares on the secondary market, basically sell them to other investors. Roughly speaking, if you own 1,000 shares of GBTC, it is the equivalent to owning one Bitcoin with some caveats. The first caveat is that Grayscale charges an annual management fee. There is no management fee when you own Bitcoin directly. Specifically, Grayscale charges its shareholders a 2% management fee. 2% is on the high end of even actively managed funds, and with Grayscale, there isn't much active management being done aside from securing the Bitcoin. Compare this with only 0.25% that iShares Gold Trust, ticker symbol IAU, charges. iShares is a trust that buys and secures gold on behalf of its investors, similar to how Grayscale buys and secures Bitcoin on behalf of its investors. In other words, iShares charges only 1/8 of what Grayscale charges in terms of an annual fee. And I have to believe that securing gold is not 1/8 as expensive as securing Bitcoin is. The reason why Grayscale is able to charge this high fee is because there aren't really many options out there besides Grayscale if you want to invest in Bitcoin in your brokerage account. The second caveat to owning GBTC in lieu of direct Bitcoin ownership is the fact that while GBTC attempts to track the price movement of Bitcoin, it doesn't do so perfectly. In fact, most of the time, the cost of 1,000 shares of GBTC is higher than the cost of one Bitcoin is. So in addition to the annual fee that GBTC charges, you have to pay a premium to own one Bitcoin indirectly through owning GBTC shares compared to what you would have to pay with direct Bitcoin ownership. This premium ranges by day and at one point reached more than 130% right before the height of Bitcoin mania in 2017. Now, you may be wondering, why does this premium exist? Well, very simply, it's a matter of supply and demand. Since there is often no other option to invest in Bitcoin in your brokerage account other than GBTC, when people are really hyped up about Bitcoin, they are often willing to pay a premium for GBTC, even if it means buying the underlying Bitcoin for above its market price. And when the hype around Bitcoin diminishes, the premium that GBTC shares trade for declines as well. So this dynamic makes GBTC even more volatile than Bitcoin itself. This is because GBTC is not only capturing the price of the underlying Bitcoin that it represents, but it's also capturing sentiment around Bitcoin. So on average, the price movement of GBTC has been around 20% more volatile than the price movement of Bitcoin. Now, aside from volatility, another concern that is motivated by this premium is the question of, well, how long is this premium going to last? When will this premium go away? The answer is that this premium will likely go away when there are more options to invest in Bitcoin. And the availability of additional options to invest in Bitcoin is becoming increasingly likely. For example, recently another application has been submitted to form a Bitcoin ETF. Now, in the event of the approval of this application or any other subsequent applications, it is more than likely that GBTC's advantage of being basically the only game in town will start to dissipate. This will likely cause GBTC to have to lower its annual fee to remain competitive, and additionally, it will probably cause the premium that their shares trade at currently to fall as well. So is buying GBTC a good idea if you want to invest in Bitcoin using funds in a brokerage account? Let me preface my answer with this is not personalized investment advice. Make sure you do your own due diligence before making investment decisions. Here is my view. If you're looking to gain exposure to the price movement of Bitcoin to do a quick trade, then GBTC is a really risky option. On the other hand, if you want to invest in Bitcoin for the long term, and let's say you have a 3 to 5 year time horizon, and you think that the price of Bitcoin can potentially reach $200,000 or $300,000 per coin, then absent other options, I think one can make a strong argument for buying shares in GBTC. So for example, let's assume that the price of Bitcoin is at 30,000. If 1,000 shares of GBTC are trading for 34,000, there's then a $4,000 premium on buying Bitcoin through GBTC. If you go ahead and pay that premium and then hold on to your shares for the next 3, 4, 5 years, and your prediction, your price forecast for the price of Bitcoin materializes, and your GBTC shares end up being worth $200,000 or $300,000, then I think you're going to be okay with the $4,000 premium that you ended up having to pay in order to invest in Bitcoin using your brokerage account. On the other hand, if you have to sell in 6 months and the premium that GBTC was trading at when you bought it ends up vanishing at the time that you want to sell it 6 months from now, your feelings are probably going to be hurt. So again, my view is that if you're a short-term trader, I'd stay away from GBTC like the plague. I'd also advise you not to be a short-term trader. On the other hand, if you're a long-term investor and you have a thesis that Bitcoin can reach $200, $300, or even more $1,000 per coin, then I think GBTC is probably a decent option despite its drawbacks. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed anything in this video. Until next time, make sure to take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum and peace be upon you all.